Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Unpolished. I'm here with guest MT Performance owner Marcus. I'm going to butcher your last name. Thimios?
Close. Thimios.
Thimios.
Yeah.
Because it's OS, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
The English language. We were just talking about.
Yeah, right? Makes no sense.
We did just film our Less Polished series, so make sure you guys check that out first. Marcus, would you like to share what happened?
Well, we hit was it Palace Bowl, right?
Palace Bowl, yeah.
Palace.
Susie at Palace Bowl, by the way. She was nice enough to let us film our Less Polished today. We were supposed to play pickleball, which would have been way more embarrassing.
Exactly.
But Susie let us bowl, and we had a little bet. And
yeah, shout out Susie, shout out Sandy as well. They were awesome.
yes, Sandy dogs.
So yeah, we had a bet. It was first. Well, we had two bets. I gotta start with the first.
Dude,
right?
I gotta finish those.
Yeah, you do owe some more. So our first bet was first strike, which I got. I got the first strike. I think it was like frame 3 or 4. It was a little slow start for both of us. 50 push-ups, which I mean,
I'm only 10 in.
yeah,
I gotta
only
finish
10 in.
40.
Exactly. I'd like to
I'm a
think
man of my word.
Things would have gone differently maybe if you had finished those earlier. I don't know, but no, there was then we had a second bet, and it was who won the whole thing, and Steve ran away with it. He heated up. He's actually a child prodigy at bowling.
It's true.
And so now I get to do a workout at TNT at some point, and I've been trying to make it clear that I love cardio, love circuits, love the high reps stuff.
You're not fooling me at all.
Don't give me that stuff because I like it too much. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Thank you so much, by the way. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we had to push you back because we had like Matt Kim come on and some of our big guests. But thanks for fitting us in. And
absolutely,
it's awesome to have you here.
I appreciate it. It's the first time doing something like this, so I'm excited to chat it up and have some good conversations about the fitness industry.
Yeah. So I've been really excited to have you on specifically because we were just talking about it before we started rolling the cameras, but it's always really nice to run into, I'm going to air quote, competition.
Right.
Because it's really telling when you meet your competition and you can tell if they want to hate you or you can tell if they want to be your friend. And we've always been really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, I've never had any animosity towards you. You've never had any animosity towards me. When we met, we talked, we chilled, we tried to work together. We were just talking about working together minutes ago. And the gym world is filled with snake salesmen, snake oil people, and egos and things of that nature. So I want to commend you for that, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's been awesome to get to know you, and I hear amazing things from your clients. I know we've had people train at mine and train at yours and vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
So I hear awesome things, and I just want to commend you as a trainer, first of all.
Ah, man, thank you. Likewise, by the way. You know, I make an effort to try to meet other people, again, competitors, quote unquote. We say that there's so many people out there, and it's ultimately ends up, I think, just being a matter of personality types and styles that, you know, ends up differentiating people because so many people around, no need to be
plenty
enemies.
of fish in the sea,
right?
man.
Exactly.
There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah.
And if they do overlap, who gives a shit?
Right.
You know, like who cares? Because we're all trying to do the same damn thing.
100%. 100%.
Again, it's something we were talking about at the bowling alley. But I just want people to feel better.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I just want people to feel better. And the athletes, you know, it's really fun training athletes, but I've gravitated more towards like the adult. Like, I really enjoy helping an obese person realize, like, hey, the grass is way greener on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And then they lose 100 pounds and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. Because I know that person is going to live a longer life.
Exactly. And that you markedly improved their quality of life, right? Like you showed them the way, at least. Like, they did it ultimately, but you were there to help them and guide them, right?
Right.
That's powerful.
That's another ick. Well, we're going to get into our icks, but one of my huge icks with trainers is like taking full credit.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst.
It's like, this is what I did. I helped this person do this. And I'm like, oh, dude, all you did was like provide the recipe.
Right.
Because the work is in the sleep, the eating, the meal prepping, the saying no to big fat snacks. And that's where the work is.
100%.
You know, like our job, we see someone 1 hour a day at most.
Right.
What, 3 days a week, 4 days a week?
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, we got a couple freaks that won't leave me alone, and they come to the gym every single friggin' day.
Yep.
Like my ladies in the morning. Oh my God, every day, dude.
Can't get rid of them.
Every day. And then Patty, shout out to Patty. Patty wants to do extra work after every workout. I'm like, you guys are psychos. Like, just go home and like have some breakfast.
That's a beautiful thing there, though. That's a good sign. And oh God, yeah, I'm with you. I always tell people, like, you know, if they thank me, and like, I appreciate it, obviously, but it's more like I kind of just stood there with my arms folded. I said a handful of words, and you did all the hard work. I've just been standing here, right? Like,
Exactly right.
Much, yeah.
Exactly right. They did the work.
Exactly.
I feel like the gym too is kind of the easy part, because it's like that's where all the motivation is, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym, and you go to the gym, and you start to feel it like it's kind of fun, and like you enjoy your workout, but the rest of it, that's what sucks. Like dieting and getting your sleep.
Working out's the easiest part.
And that's where it's so easy to fall off.
Especially
it's so easy to eat, and that's all the hard work.
Especially with a gym, because not everyone's the same, right? Like, so especially with a gym like ours, you know, I think one of my number one rules is like, you got to be having fun while you're working out.
100%.
You know, so when you create the atmosphere, the working out part is so easy, especially at MT Performance or TNT Athletics or any of these private gyms, because, you know, you build your relationship with your trainer, they get to know you personally. They get to know your goals. They get to push you towards all those. And then it's the eating, it's the sleeping, especially these freaking kids, dude. The screen time with these kids is insane. You ever do screen time checks at your gym?
No, but I like it. Tell me more.
Add it in.
Oh, man.
Add it in, because it's wild.
Oh,
we had a girl at 16 hours.
No. On average?
16 hours.
One day, or?
I think it was a Sunday.
Holy cow.
But
still.
Obviously, still.
Every waking
16
moment.
16 freaking hours. I'm not going to say your name, but I'm pretty sure you watch the show. You need to watch what the heck you are doing on that damn phone. Crazy, dude. But like, we were seeing 8, 9, 10, easy 8, 9, 10s. And then we had some 11s and 12s. And it's just like, holy crap, the world is so different now.
Oh, 100%. It's like you were saying, I mean, it's easy to take care of business in the gym once you get in the routine. Not trying to undersell that, but what are you doing the other 23 hours of the day is nowadays, especially like if we're going to dive into the world of athletics, it was uncommon, I'd say, and you might agree with this, for a kid in middle school to train when we were growing up,
Extremely.
Right? Extremely uncommon. Now, I'd say it's probably uncommon for a kid who's an athlete to not train in middle school, right? So you're not really necessarily setting yourself apart by just doing that. But what I try to get across to younger athletes especially is, are you taking care of business? At least you don't have to be a robot, but like, are you eating like decent, not like a piece of crap? Are you sleeping more than 5 hours per night, right? Like, and the screen time of, you know, there's so many different things that can send a kid off route that it's hard, but you got to try to educate a little bit about why these things aren't optimal, right?
Well, we have a business because those age groups don't want to listen to mom and dad. Because 90% of the time, mom and dad are like, hey, you got to eat your vegetables.
Oh, God,
like, hey, you got to eat especially dad, eat your protein.
Yeah.
But then he's like, whatever, dad, whatever. I'm fine. And then we say it, they're like, yes, sir.
Yeah, spot on.
Yes, sir. You said I had to eat more protein. I've literally been saying that for 5 years, Jacob. Like, I've been saying that forever. And now Steve says it, and he's Superman. Like, I get texts. One of my favorite like calls or texts to get is like, "Hey, my grocery bill is significantly higher thanks to you."
Yeah, exactly.
Because I teach the kid how to eat.
100%. 100%. The crap stuff is real cheap, right?
Extremely cheap compared to your, grass-fed ground beef and your chicken and your high-protein diet.
Oh, yeah.
But let's go backwards. So how'd you get into this?
So I think like a lot of people in our world, I was an athlete growing up, love sports. I'm not someone, you'll even probably tell watching this recording, I'm not good at sitting still, right? So I knew I'd want to do something a little quote unquote unconventional, right? So ultimately growing up playing sports, it didn't end up being the route I went in terms of college or anything like that. But I started with a trainer when I was a junior. His name's Alex Kube, and I know you've got some guys who worked with him in the past too. Mm-hmm. And he did a lot for me. He just, he taught me the way. He kind of showed me how to work hard. Obviously, that combined with the culture I kind of was in at Cary Grove High School, where I went, kind of taught me how to work hard, and it gained me a lot of confidence because I figured like, hey, if you just put in some effort, if you're consistent with something, you're going to see results. And I think as a kid, I immediately made that connection with life too a little bit. I think sometimes it takes longer for some, but that kind of inspired me. And I thought, man, like for what he did for me as a kid, confidence-wise especially, not necessarily even the athletic stuff, but just mentally what he did for me, I'm like, if I can do that a little bit for one kid, that's a huge success. And again, sounds like kind of cornball, but that's kind of what ended up getting me into the field. Yeah.
So this was In high school it started then.
Pretty much, yeah.
You kind of knew you wanted to do it.
It definitely started there. I wasn't for sure. About halfway through college is really when I ultimately decided to go down that route. I went to Indiana University, and I was studying exercise science and Spanish linguistics. I knew I wanted to help people, so it was probably either like the teaching route or more on the gym side of things, and started as an intern at a gym. My junior year, I found it. Unpaid internship on Craigslist. Did not get stabbed. Shout out Teamwork Bloomington in Indiana. But they taught me a lot, and that's when I ultimately was like, man, yep, this is it. I caught the itch, if you will, and that's how it got going. Yeah.
Awesome. And then when did MT Performance start?
So I was at Bloomington when I graduated from IU in 2017. I wasn't exactly sure what to do next, so I stayed down there a whole nother year, and I just worked basically and tried to figure my life out
with that Bloomington place.
Exactly, yeah, Teamwork Bloomington. I was down there just gaining some experience too, and I think that was really valuable for me to do. I wasn't really ready to jump into anything next, so just took a year to gather myself and gain a lot of experience, get a lot of reps, training, and anyone who worked with me back then. I mean, maybe you wouldn't say it, but I was rough. Yeah, that's how you get better at a lot of stuff, though, right? You gotta kind of have to suck at things first to improve. So came back though. It was a full year after, and I was just kind of realizing like I don't know exactly what I'm building towards, So I decided to come back towards home, August of 2018. So August 1st, 2018 is when I started MT Performance. So we just passed 6 years, which has been. It's flown by, man. It's been crazy. But yeah, over 6 years I've owned MT Performance, and about 9 years I've been training in general. Yeah.
Feels like yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah, dude. Seriously, it's crazy.
The age where it seemed like everything started going by like snap a finger for me was 22.
Yeah.
Right after 22, it was like, holy crap, I'm 23. I feel like I just turned 22. And then I turned 24. I'm like, I still feel 22. Like, what the heck is going on? And then getting married, having kids, it's like boom, 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 boom.
Oh, exactly.
And now my kid's 4 years old. About to be 4 years old.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
It's crazy, man. It flies by. It's easy to get caught into the routine too, having your head down, working, grinding. So it's ultimately, I think it's really important to have the ability. It's easier said than done. Take a step back and have a little perspective. And I think a lot of people can get some happiness out of just doing that, realizing where you came from. And I think that can also help you figure out where you want to go, right?
Right, yeah. Exactly. So I really want to dive into the fitness aspect with you being a fellow fitness guy. We could say fitness, we could say sports performance, whatever, however you want to call it. Health and wellness.
Yeah,
we'll just say health and wellness. What would you say I'm really putting you on the spot here.
Let's go. Okay.
What would you say your coaching philosophy is?
Coaching philosophy. Let's see. I like the tagline, just competence and confidence, right? So I kind of dove into the confidence before. Just I think when you work hard for something and you start to see results in whatever facet of life, that builds confidence. Actually doing the work builds confidence. You can't just fake it, right? So helping people get to that point, whether it be just physically or a little further that mentally too, but also competence, right? I always kind of think I'm not necessarily trying to train someone for the rest of their life, right? If it works out that way, that's fantastic and cool. They must really like what we're doing. But if I can train someone for a couple of months and then they have the competence after that to go to a commercial gym and be able to put a program together and follow it consistently, that is a massive win for us, right? So I'd say in general, I'm trying to educate a little bit, not bore somebody, but I want people to know why they're doing stuff at least. And, you'll get people, I'm sure you have this, that don't care. And I figured that out to a point, and I try to slip some things in here and there, but I'm not sitting there talking, like a professor by any means with them. But yeah, long story short, want someone to feel like they can do it on their own, and also just to have some confidence, have a little pep in their step. Yeah.
I love that you said that, because it seems like, especially in today's world, everyone's trying to upsell. Everyone's trying to sell their booty programs and their this program, and they're trying to. A lot of trainers, I feel like, tend to make you feel like they need you or you need them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And maybe at first,
right,
you do, but if given the right tools and understanding, you don't need anyone.
No.
You don't need anything.
Exactly.
You don't need a gym. Right. You don't need a specific diet plan. You just need to be consistent and have goals in mind, working towards those goals.
100%.
And be disciplined.
Yeah.
Consistency and discipline are two really key ingredients when it comes to finding result, and that's losing weight, gaining muscle, becoming the fastest runner in the world.
Right. Oh yeah.
That I'm really glad you said that, because so many trainers I feel like are on the opposite end. Like, you need me.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah. If I've been working with someone for over 4-6 months and they still need me to hold their hand through the process, I'm looking back at myself and figuring out what am I doing wrong here, right? Like this isn't how I want things to be going. I want them, not that I don't want to coach, obviously it's what I do for a living. I love to do it, but I shouldn't necessarily have to explain everything step by step. Once you get to that point, I'm not hitting the mark in terms of establishing competence with that person, if that's the case, right?
Right. And I found that when you give those tools as if they don't need you anymore, they still come back and they pay you anyway, because they appreciate it and they love the atmosphere. Like we talked about atmosphere a little bit, but they love the atmosphere that you create too. I think that could be number one for me, is creating a fun, inviting atmosphere. Especially like, I've never been inside your gym. I've seen little pictures of it and videos of it, but like ours is really intimidating.
I got you.
Ours is scary looking. Like
a little bit.
We just had someone sign up the other day, and he was like, "Dude, it's scary in here." He straight up said it, like grown man. He's like, "It's scary to lift in here." I'm like, expand on that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just really intimidating. And I was like, I could see that, but like, nothing's trying to hit you.
I honestly think it's the lighting in there, because it's just dark.
Well, it's brighter now. We got those new lights.
Yeah. It's
You
just
mean
still
your brain surgery.
No. The camera tells me. The camera doesn't lie.
Oh yeah,
it's very dark in there.
Yeah, when you film in there.
Yeah, and then the floors.
It used to be way darker.
Yeah. But the floors are black too.
Floors
so like
are black,
it absorbs
it's
light.
a little bit darker.
So it just kind of
and it's just different.
Makes it like a little like grungy kind of vibe.
Yeah,
where it's like I don't know.
And it's not like a commercial look with machines, and not everything's the same color and pretty, and like I got some grungy stuff in there. But I do think atmosphere is like really high up there when it comes to like getting clients comfortable.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And I think different people will gravitate towards whatever environment someone's trying to instill, right? And I guess that ultimately goes back to us talking before about the competition thing. It's just like people have different things they like. Our gym, I think gyms in general can be intimidating, but we're, if you're not familiar with where we're at, we used to be where Pump It Up was, which is like a kids' party jump house thing. So they've got all the multicolored freaking walls. Our tile looks like a clown threw up all over it, which might have happened, I'm sure, at some point. But I don't know if we're necessarily hitting that super intimidating thing because of all the colors going on. And frankly, we're just like, let's not paint it because these walls are huge. But ultimately, I think a gym can be intimidating in general too. So I guess it kind of depends on the person too. Like if you're working with somebody and they meet you and they get to know you, I'm sure he wasn't. Maybe if we're first walking in, he was intimidated, but then he got to know you and that you care and all that. And makes a difference, right?
Yeah. So what do you say to someone who says, "Hey, I'm too scared to sign up"? What is your response to that?
I want them to know that I hear them first and foremost, because, I think back to myself as I was like a 105-pound freshman in high school walking into
just a little guy.
Yeah, I was real tiny back. Puberty helped, but not much. But anyways, I was walking into the high school weight room, and I definitely related to that. You see seniors who are grown men, full grown beard, 240 pounds, whatever, lifting weights, and you're a little intimidated. But I try to, first of all, put myself in their shoes and understand that. But second of all, just try to get them to know the people around them, right? If we're going kind of like, I think we were talking about this a little bit before we started going here. If you go to a commercial gym, you see someone who's super jacked up and just really muscular and, got no neck, that sort of guy. Ultimately, what I try to explain is like that guy sometimes has the most insecurities, right? Like that guy has a lot going on in his brain. There's probably a reason why he comes to the gym 7 times a week and is just massive, right? So everyone's working through different things. And for the most part, 99% of the time, even at commercial gyms, I think people are happy other people are there. And especially when you work it down to a private gym and you've got that community of people who care and understand how things go in the facility, leaning on them to help that person see it, I think can make a big difference too. Because they might relate to that person more than they're relating to us, the fitness professional sitting in front of them, right? So leaning on other clients and referrals help for sure if they already know someone who's been training there to
word
kind
of
of
mouth.
show
It's
them
the
that.
best type of marketing.
Oh, God, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Best type of marketing by far. A warm pass. Like, hey, You ever heard of Marcus? You got to go check him out.
Right.
Like if that comes from a friend or a family member, it's like, okay, I'm actually going to check him out versus seeing some Facebook ad or whatever.
It's exponential too.
Right.
Because if you get one referral, then that one referral can lead to two. Mm-hmm. And now two people can, and it just doubles and doubles and doubles. So that's the only form of marketing where it gets cheaper as time goes on versus ad costs always increase.
Oh, yeah.
Like any other kind of marketing initiative always increases in cost the more people you're trying to get.
Listen to this
Word of mouth
producer
goes
over
down.
here. It's like Alex Hormozy behind the microphone.
I know stuff.
Do you ever get this one? This one is one of the most frustrating ones that I get. Oh, well, I need to work out for a little bit to get ready for your gym.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
It makes no sense.
I think people have this perception that we like thrive off of making someone vomit and be just uncomfortable and stuff like, in pain.
Which
right?
sometimes it might be a little necessary, for a kid that sat on his ass all summer.
Yes.
He comes in, he does a couple, squats, lunges, and he throws up. I'm kind of glad you threw up, dude, because it's a little bit of a wake-up call. It's like we do the McHenry Warriors every year.
Oh, yeah.
And that camp, you always get the kids crying a little bit. Not because you're trying to make them cry, but because they haven't done shit all summer. And they got a coach yelling at them to get going, like, even if it's just like a run around the bush and come back.
Oh, yeah.
There's always a kid crying.
That's enough to break someone in that position, for sure. Oh, spot on. I mean, I think not everybody, but I think a lot of kids, especially in this area, don't have a significant amount of adversity in their lives growing up. And obviously, you don't want bad things to happen to people, but I do think adversity can make or break somebody too. I think people need to be exposed to that at some point in their life, because all of a sudden, when they're an adult and they're on their own and they've never faced adversity, either they're going to live in mom and dad's basement for the rest of their life, or they're just going to play kind of like the victim, right? Yeah.
100%. 100%. I totally agree with you. I feel like these kids... We're going to fall off into another category, but I do feel like the world is creating new problems that simply were never problems.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, and then this will jump us into politics, but we don't need to do that. But like the whole, the trans issues, the current political climate that we have, I feel like it's just a bunch of bickering over things that, like when we added cry closets to college, and when we added safe spaces. And we're just pretending like people weren't having issues before.
I feel like we've just run out of issues, and it's kind of the human nature to focus on what's wrong. It's evolutionary too, to be like, I need to focus on the issues because that's what can kill me.
Oh yeah.
But now it's like we ran out of shit that can kill you. So I can only focus on these tiny little issues. I'm like, no one fucking cares.
Well, when someone's not seeing progress, what do? They point to outside factors.
Yeah, ownership's tough.
Yeah. Ownership's real tough in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
But understanding like, hey, maybe it's my fault that I don't have a job. But instead, you see these Gen Zers where, oh, well, I don't have a job because I'm black. It's like, what?
Well, it sucks too, because then you give the power away, and like now if you say that, you don't have the power to go get a job. Like you just gave that up. You're like, well, it's outside circumstances, can't control it, so I can't change it either.
Exactly right.
That sucks.
Which brings me to a great segue with one thing I wanted to ask you was, what are some of the worst excuses you've ever? We can actually just run through them all. So like, I don't have time. I don't have time to work out.
Oh yeah, don't have time.
What's your response to that one?
You definitely have time.
Of course you have time.
There's time there. It's just a priority, right? Ultimately, you've got spare time. I've never met a person who's been so busy to where they didn't have an hour to spare if they made it work, right? You just prioritize other things more than that. And that's okay. It doesn't make you a shit person. But again, look back at yourself and realize that you are prioritizing whatever it may be, watching a TV show in the evening or getting an extra hour of sleep in the morning. You're prioritizing that over, exerting yourself physically. So that's the number one right there, and that's the easiest one I got. People don't always accept that answer because they don't want it to be true. But I think
that's
even
the
if
biggest thing.
Yeah, if it ruffles feathers, and then you go home and look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, shit, he had a point. He was right. And even if they don't come back to me because maybe that was a little offensive, they go train somewhere else. You help them still.
That's fine.
Right?
That's fine. I mean, if like you said, ownership's tough.
Right. Oh yeah.
And you have to accept a lot of that ownership when you make a lifestyle change.
Exactly.
Like, why am I fat? Like, anyone can look in the mirror that's obese or large, and they can say exactly why they're fat.
Right.
But we like to blame outside. Oh, but it was a stressful year.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody's got stress.
Right. Oh yeah. Exactly.
Everybody's got stress.
You're not unique. People have issues. Everyone's got something going on. It's just a matter of how you're responding to that, I guess. Right. And that's what's going to determine ultimately what like path in life you go. Right. If you just let a little bit of hardship just totally shut you down and you make excuses, then nothing's going to change. It's not going to get better. You're just patting yourself on the back and saying it's okay. Or, you can grab the bull by the horns, right? And just actually make some changes and make some sacrifices. That's hard. It's hard as shit to do. There's a reason why not everyone is in shape. There's a reason why obesity is at such a high, prevalence right now, is because it's hard to do that. It's not I'm not saying it's easy. It's just simple. Simple, not easy, I guess, right?
Yep, I preach that a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's another one for you. Mm-hmm. I can't afford training.
I mean, I might just sound like a broken record right now, but it's the same thing. I think more often than not, ultimately, it's a priority, right? If you can't afford training, but you can afford
your 7 subscriptions.
Yeah, your 7 subscriptions, your exactly, your Netflix subscription, or you can afford going out to eat twice per weekend, every single weekend, and spending
some people
$100+
multiple meals every day too.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. You're right. That's hard for me to fathom, honestly, but like it's true. So again, I think a lot of times it's a priority, and then there are cases obviously where people are going through hardship, and that's also a real situation. I'm not saying there's nobody that can't afford it. There's people that's the case. But then again, I think if you get with the right people, or you do some research on your own, and you don't need a gym, you don't necessarily even need fitness equipment. If you live by a freaking park with a pull-up bar and some stuff you can like elevate your hands on to do some push-ups and body weight stuff, if you really want to do something, you'll figure it out. So even then, like there's ways to work around financial situations if you can't. I'm aware that private training is expensive, right? And especially someone who's got bills to pay, who's got kids, who might be between jobs. Not everyone can afford it, and I'm aware of that, but there are cheap options, whether it's no gym at all or even like, I don't know, Planet Fitness. What's that, like $15 a month or something if you really wanted to?
I think it was 10.
Even.
Yeah, it's like 10, 15.
Now they're $19.99.
You can definitely find a gym under 20
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
a month.
Well, those are the gyms that hide like the annual fee, and like Planet Fitness doesn't tell you about that. First of all, you're in a year contract.
Yeah.
And then second of all, you get hit with like a $78 fee every year, and they call it like a maintenance fee.
Okay. There you go.
What are you maintaining?
Right.
Like.
Well, they always pitch it. It's like it's for new equipment.
Yeah.
Which like that is a thing, but also why isn't that just factored into my membership?
Right.
It's like
this isn't a Planet Fitness ad. No
like,
free ads.
Imagine seeing that like at your mechanic. Like, oh, well, here's an extra charge. We're actually looking to buy a new hoist for the engines.
Right.
So we're actually charging everyone extra 20%. Like, that's not how that works. So, but the gym world is so bizarre now, and I just cannot stand what it's turned into, specifically on social media.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I know you're on social media.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the icks that you have with fitness people and the social media world in regards to fitness?
I think everyone, like if we're talking from trainers I see online, everyone wants to act like they've got some sort of special formula and recipe. And like, of course, there are trainers who are more intelligent than others. Like that's obvious, that happens, right? But like, I think there's no secret recipe, you hear it all the time in the training world. Maybe not everyone's listening to this has heard this, but it's a shitty program done consistently will beat an excellent program done once every 2 weeks. 10 times out of 10, no matter what, right? If you are doing something consistently, and as long as it doesn't hurt you. You're going to see results from doing that, right? So I think people acting like they know way more than every other person in the industry, that bothers me because it's not true. And honestly, you're feeling a little insecurity coming off by someone who does that. So that's a big ick. Acting like a certain form of exercise is the only thing that someone needs, or a certain piece of equipment is the only thing that someone needs. It's just not true. Yeah.
It's a stupid game that has turned into it's messed with society itself in a lot of ways too.
Right.
Like it's made, like if I'm not doing something cool with my rotational workout, then I feel like I haven't worked out, because what does social media do? They add music, they add these cool workouts and these cool exercises. But again, if you're not doing something consistently with, this is another key factor that a lot of people ignore. Progressive overload.
Oh, yeah.
If we're not progressively moving forward, whether it's with more weight, whether it's with more volume, or whatever the case may be, you are simply not going to get better at that thing.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because a real program is boring.
Exactly. 100%.
A real program is super boring. You're doing almost the same thing every week.
Right.
Adding weight, adding reps, adding some sort of extra stimulus so that we can peak for season.
Oh, exactly.
In the case of athletes.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you see these cool Instagram videos, like you said, awesome music, great editing and all that. And it's, like someone's doing something crazy with chains and they're standing on a Bosu ball, catching weirdly shaped discs and stuff like that.
What's your take on the Bosu ball? I want your take on it.
I strictly use the Bosu ball for like my middle school kids with games.
Do you think there's no application for it?
I don't think there's no application for it, but there's some research out there that's showing that it's not necessarily something that's going to actually improve applicable balance, because it's not. If you're working with an athlete, right, and let's say it's a basketball player, we're playing on hard court, like hard floor, right? Your body is reacting completely different to a stimuli where you're standing on a Bosu ball than it is just doing a single leg RDL or something like that on real ground, right? And again, I'm sure there's application in the rehab world. It's fun. So like I said, sometimes I'll throw it in for a game with
That's
kids.
Usually when we'll
that.
throw it in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually like if I want, because they always find it fun. It's always like exciting and new. And it's really easy to make like a fun game out of it.
Yeah, exactly. The playing group trying to balance a lacrosse ball in the middle or something like that on the bottom side, right?
Yep. I found it to be applicable too with certain people who lack stability in their ankles.
Yeah.
Especially like blue side, like the air side.
Right.
Have them stand, shoe off and balance on that.
Yeah.
Because someone who's really prone to like we had a guy, he had 3 ankle injuries within like a matter of a year. I'm just like, all right, dude, we have an issue here.
Right.
There's something going on. And we actually found a lot of benefit with him using the Bosu ball a lot.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Again,
but that goes into your rehab, like you had mentioned.
Right. Yeah. You'll never hear me say that something is completely useless, because there's a saying, there's no such thing as a bad exercise, just a bad person to do it with or a bad timing to do it. Right. So I think there can be application for just about anything. In general, if it's not a rehabilitation like situation though, in terms of stability and stuff, I much prefer just working on like plyometrics or just a true single leg strengthening exercise. Like if you load the crap out of a rear foot elevated split squat, Bulgarian split squat, however you know them by, I think that is incredibly effective for, getting to that point means that you're incredibly stable, right? So you work up to that point and now you're, kind of 2 birds, 1 stone situation, right? Because we're also getting stronger in a real life way. So, yeah.
So this is a theory that, well, not necessarily a theory, but it's a coaching pattern that I've sort of fallen into more, and I want your take on it. I'm actually falling more away from the barbell.
Okay, yeah.
Like I think dumbbells are superior.
Yep.
And I think reverse lunges are far superior than barbell squats.
Oh man, yeah, you're speaking my language right now.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
real.
You think so? Okay, cool,
yeah.
cool. I just don't. I think a lot of it was I just loved to lift a ton of weight.
Right.
And I loved seeing people lift a ton of weight.
100%.
We still squat. Like
Yeah.
it's still a great overall core. It's honestly a lot more core than like legs, in my opinion. Sometimes, like it depends on anatomically on the person too.
Right.
Like if we got really really long femurs, I hate squats.
Oh god, yeah.
I hate squats for like my tall guys.
Right.
So, but
they hate them too usually, right?
Yeah, and they usually suck at them.
Yeah.
You know, but does that mean it's useless? No, it's not useless. That's not what I'm saying. Just like you said, there's
Right.
a good there's no such thing as a bad exercise, and doing things safely and properly, and then monitoring and progressively overloading and being consistent with it, you're going to see results.
Yeah.
But I think the squat just sucks compared to like a Bulgarian.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, if I had someone who's that squatty body, like kind of long, like relatively maybe longer torso, but real short femurs, like I'm gonna squat the crap out of them because they're gonna be good at it. They're gonna enjoy it, and
it's gonna be safe.
It's gonna be safe, exactly, and they're gonna get a good training stimulus out of it. But it's a lot harder to hurt yourself progressively overloading a single leg exercise, at least anecdotally. I don't know if there's actual research on it, or at least that I'm familiar with. But long story short, anecdotally, you never see someone really tweaking themselves, getting injured, doing something single leg. And also, there's just a lot more things you're accomplishing in terms of like stability, in terms of they suck. Like I would much rather do like 5 sets of 5 on a back squat than 3 by 10 on a rear foot elevated split squat. Like, are you kidding me? I'd much rather do that. And that might be telling in its own right that it's a little bit harder, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think to go with your point too, I think there's a ton more benefits when it comes to younger kids. I mean, I think the hip hinge is really important to teach.
Right.
And that's going to relate more towards the squat than anything. But I think from an athletic movement pattern standard,
right,
unilateral stuff is far superior.
Oh yeah.
For our young kids.
Right. When there's action going on the field or on the court, whatever, you're not really standing on 2 feet all that often.
2 feet straight.
Hopefully not.
Chest up, loaded to your spine.
Right.
There's not really any specific moment like that. But, I also kind of hate that argument too, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's not really like a specific moment where I'm balancing on one leg, holding 2 dumbbells, doing a Bulgarian either.
Right.
So, like,
yeah.
I know that's one thing that like people say with the Bosu. Well, you're never on an unstable ground. Well, you're also never loading 600 pounds on your back on the football field.
Right.
So like, why are we doing that?
That's a good point. Yeah, I think it's easy to fall into it. It needs to look exactly like what someone's doing.
Sport-specific training.
Oh yeah. That really.
That's a good one. That's another one we could get into.
And this is kind of one of those tough ones because like that's a term that I'll sometimes throw out there and use, but more from an energy system perspective, right? Like. Let's say like a baseball player probably doesn't need to be running 6 miles a day all year round, right? But at the same time, if they come in and I'm having them like swing a PVC freaking pipe or something like that, like I'm not doing my job anymore too, right? So you're spot on the fact that that argument can be rough sometimes where we're creating general adaptations, like probably, I don't know, at least 95% of the time. And there's maybe a certain window of time where it might make a lot of sense to do something that's sport specific, quote unquote. But yeah, honestly, our job as fitness professionals working with athletes is general adaptation to create resilient humans, not necessarily like the greatest baseball player on earth, for example. And again, it doesn't mean what we're doing is not transferring. It's just not really how it works. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do a GPP programming. So just general preparedness programming. And our sport specific would be like, all right. And this is only if if you're only a baseball player,
yes.
You want to go to play baseball in college and you're trying to go to the pros. All right, let's do a 60 start.
Yeah.
Let's treat it like you're running the 60. That's how you're going to do your sprints because you are going to have combines where scouts are going to rely heavily on this number. So that's how you're going to run.
Which is funny, by the way. Like,
yeah.
when you run in 60.
Well, we could talk about like the NFL Combine too.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, what is 225 bench doing in there?
I've been saying for years. Hopefully these kids are listening. I had a group of kids who they're well into high school now. When they're in like 6th grade, I went on this epic rant about how terrible the Combine's designed, and they're just like, can we play like a game or something? I was just like, in the middle of it going on. But what's doing 225 40 times? Awesome. Like, does anyone, I do because I know way too much about football, but does anyone listening to this know who has the most bench reps ever in the NFL Combine?
It was like 52, right?
Something like that, yeah. You know the guy's name?
I don't know his name.
He
wasn't a good football player.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Put VBT on that. Like, see how fast the bar's moving for 3 reps. That tells me so much more about what a football player can do than doing this a million times.
What's the most, in your opinion, what's the best part of the Combine for a football player?
Broad jump. for me. I think I like the broad jump. Every position I think has some skill stuff too. I think that's applicable. I have noticed, because I watch the combine, I follow it, they're actually tracking initial 10 now. I think that's pretty important for a football player.
Initial, like the first 10 of a 40?
Yeah, they're like putting that down,
yes.
each 10-yard split. So like a 40's fine and dandy, and you'll know how fast someone can run in a straight line. But in my opinion, like, what's that first 10 look like? I think, again, if you just think about, if you've ever watched football, it's much more common for someone to be running only a couple yards on a play, really short and intense, versus opening up for 40 yards.
I think I really like, just out of pure athleticism, the L drill.
Yeah.
So 3-cone L drill. I feel like if I had to choose one, that would like if someone's got a really good broad jump versus if someone's got a really good L drill, I just feel like if you see a big man moving on the L drill, you're like,
that's
damn.
true. Yeah, that's true.
Damn.
I like that.
You know, versus like broad jump. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's one jump stand still.
Yeah, I got you.
Versus like putting together a bunch of patterns.
True.
It also is very telling. So I did a bunch of combines, dude.
Right. Yeah.
And it was always really telling on who worked at their craft and who didn't.
Right.
Who was running the drill right?
Yeah.
So who practiced?
Exactly. That's
because the guys that stepped up and ran it wrong, I'm like, you're off.
Yeah.
You're done.
Exactly.
They just checked you off, dude.
I hear that. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll push back a little because I think there's two ways. Because what your perspective on that actually makes sense. It wasn't really the way I thought of it before. Because yeah, it shows you cared, you rehearsed it. But part of it is also like you're just like learning a dance. You know what I mean? And that's,
100%.
And that also, like you said, to your point, that shows someone gave a shit and actually took the time to rehearse and practice it. But does that specifically apply to being able to reactively change direction in game? I'm not sure. I don't know. Right. So
right. Well,
none
of them show that.
Yeah.
None of the drills show any sort of reactivity.
Exactly.
When it comes to the gameplay. We know what matters most is film.
Yeah.
But especially with all the changes going on in the past, let's say 8 years with the strength conditioning world, you're telling me this archaic combine hasn't changed at all?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Not even a little bit?
I'm sure there's very smart people in that world who are pushing for that. I hope. I really hope, like in the NFL. But
it's also a viewership thing, too, though. I'm sure they get a lot of buzz and hype from players like, oh, dude, the 40, and the 40 has correlated to good football players.
Yeah, exactly.
It has. So, like, if someone runs a really good 40, a lot of them have become really good football players.
Right. It doesn't necessarily, like, if you're on a really good 40, no one's thinking, oh, that guy sucks at football, right? Like, it's at least a good starting point, right? Yeah.
A lot of, I noticed in football too, a lot of the, like, combine freaks, they weren't that great at football.
Yeah, right.
Like some of the guys that I know, like guys that were just crazy at football, they sucked in the combine.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
It just didn't correlate at all. Or Andrew freaking Wilson, dude. He was a linebacker for Mizzou.
Okay.
And easily one of the hardest hitters I've ever gone up against. And he didn't have great numbers. No offense, Andrew. But in the weight room, it just wasn't that impressive at all. Right. But you hit him on the field, it's like, holy shit, that's a Mack truck.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how it just didn't matter.
Yeah, it's some of the stuff's hard to objectify, right? Like, you look at, if you follow football, like most of the top receivers in the NFL right now, minus Tyreek Hill, I guess, a lot of the top guys ran what would be considered really shitty 40s, right? Like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he was like a 4.6 guy. On the NFL level, that's nothing special as a receiver. Cooper Kupp. Keenan Allen, I think, ran a 4.7, right? Arian Foster, for going way back, was like a 4.8 or something, and like he was one of the awesome running backs when I was growing up, right? So, like you said, film tells the tale, and also just it's hard to objectify, but now with like GPS tracking and stuff, you can see how fast someone's actually running when they're playing versus when they're running a 40. And a lot of these guys, again, Puka Nacua, a guy came out last year. He was a 4.6, 4.7 guy, but during the on-field drills, the gauntlet they do where they catch a bunch of passes and run, he was the fastest in miles per hour running that drill. So, like,
I did not know that.
We can objectify a little now where it's like, oh, actually, he's capable of it. There's just separation. I don't know if it's like a mental excitement type of deal. He doesn't give a shit about running a 40, or he's not good out of a stance for some reason.
Or just more comfortable sprinting and catching a ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'd rather take him versus like John Ross, awesome, fun college player, ran like 4.22 or whatever, but he pulled up running that 4.22 at the combine with his hamstring, and that ultimately told the story of his career a little bit, right? So like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a fun thing to talk about, and a lot of things I'd change as far as the combine goes. And again, hopefully there's people pushing for that. I'd love to see some change.
If you had to change one thing right now, you get to pick one, whatever it is, you can add, subtract, modify, what would you do?
I think I alluded to it earlier. I think the biggest thing, if we're talking the bench, because that's one of the big events that gets everyone excited, and who doesn't love, benching's fun, obviously. But like, instead of 225, as many as you can, maybe we get a certain percentage of someone's weight, and we put a speed sensing tracker on there.
And it's so easy to do that now.
Yeah, we can do that. I've got one I bought for like freaking like $70 sitting in my backpack in my car right here. It's not hard technology to have access to. The NFL's got a couple billion sitting around, so I think they can afford a little bit.
But it's not exciting.
No, exactly. And
it's
people
not
don't
exciting.
Understand
it's just a number on the screen.
Exactly.
Versus like 41, 42. And you watch everyone get freaking fired up. It's fun. It's fun. I get it. I totally get it. And I feel like for that reason, it's never going to change.
Exactly. And I also think people don't pay as much attention to the combine anymore, at least smart organizations, right? Like, you're there, you're present, but a lot of organizations are coming out and saying, like, we only come for the interviews to get to know the person. Like,
get the IQ.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the habits.
Right.
Yeah. Are you a good person?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of good people, did you see, you mentioned Tyreek Hill. Did you see that whole situation?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, before that, what was that, like 2 weeks ago or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw, I don't really watch a lot of football anymore, but I saw him do his handcuff thing in the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
And then it made me look it up. What a joke, dude. What a joke. And he had said something along the lines of, if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, what would have happened? I'm like, dude, you'd probably still be in jail, actually, if you weren't Tyreek Hill.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, and if you know a little bit about his past, he's not the best guy. Like I think the route he was going down, there's arguments there, obviously. I think there's a lot of valid points, but he is not the guy to be making those points because he's got a
crazy
good
past.
Yeah, he's not a good
dude.
This
event made me look that up. He punched, or I don't even remember what it was, but it was like, it involved some sort of abuse. It involved hitting. It involved, he's got like 10 baby mamas, right? Something like that.
Yeah, he's not the most he's not the right guy to be making that argument, and I didn't super follow that situation closely, but I think there's.
Did you see the video?
No, I didn't. Well, I didn't watch it. I just saw it exists, and I was like, I don't care. But
you can guess what it is. I mean, he was just mouthing off and not listening to the cops, and this. Just listen to the cops, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It'll solve 99% of these interactions.
Right. I'm sure there's problems on both ends there, but at the same time, I'm sure he probably could have done a better job. Yeah.
100%.
For sure.
Oh God, it's just this entitlement with these. I think sports got political, and that was a large part of the reason I don't like to watch it anymore.
Right. I hear you. Yeah.
It's like, come on, Tyreek, shut your mouth, dude.
Yeah.
Well, what would have happened if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? You'd still be in jail.
Yeah.
That is the actual answer. Or like Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick saying, "Oh, I'm not in the NFL because I'm black," or something like that. Or, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah, I think that involvement ultimately, I don't know. I don't know if it's a net positive or not because, sometimes there's value in bringing awareness to certain situations. And I
can understand that.
Going back to the kneeling for the anthem that he did, I understood his reasoning behind it. It's just I guess people just didn't like it, and he had his moments, right? But there's I think sometimes he even says nowadays he's like, I'd still be in the you weren't that good, you wouldn't still be in the league right now regardless of the situation there, right? So yeah, I'm with you though. I think sports is kind of a good opportunity to try to escape from that sort of thing, and
they pulled it right in.
And more power to people. Hey, if you got a certain thing you believe in, go for it. That's what this country is all about.
Do you think it's a necessary platform to do that on?
I think if you have a platform and you want to go for it, by all means, go ahead. But I think it just becomes a bigger thing because people will start to amplify it. And then someone says, I don't agree with that. I do agree with that. And it's he's got every right to say it. And that's it. That's what it comes down to. I think people can believe what they want to believe as long as they're not hurting other individuals for the most part. If I'm going from a real generalist point of view, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can argue both ways with this whole kneeling thing because you're able to kneel because of the country you're in.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like spitting on the country while also exercising the one right
I was gonna say
that you
that
don't
exactly,
have
right?
in a lot of other places. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't agree. I am 100% with you. It is your right to say what you want when you want.
Yeah.
But I don't like this one.
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
it's like, come on, man.
Right.
If you did that during China's gonna like put you in jail over something like that. Like the CCP is gonna step in, and they're gonna have their say on that.
Right. And I guess the argument ultimately is like, it seems unpatriotic and it seems like he's disrespecting troops and stuff like that. But what I wish, and I don't know if you did this or not, what I wish more people did was just actually listen to his reasoning behind it, and that he's not obviously like he doesn't hate the troops. I don't think, at least I think he went out and said that sort of thing. And it's like it's kind of I get that it's unpatriotic in a sense, and I get how people would understand that, and there even certain people would be offended by it. But at the same time, in a sense, in a weird way, it is patriotic because, like you said, it's expressing what this country allows you to do. And like, I think it's totally fine to be critical of the country you live in. And again, in America, that's a right that the founding fathers kind of wanted you to be able to have. But at the same time, you also have freedoms to, if you wanted to leave or something like that and go somewhere else, like there's a difference between being critical and just hating things too, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that was more of like a hate thing, and because it was so out of left field, like you said, most people didn't know what the hell he was kneeling for, but they took it as if it was like against America, when really in his mind it was against police brutality.
Right.
Police brutality was like the main thing, but kneeling at a football game, how did that bring any type of like? All it did was stir a pot.
Yeah, and then the question is that a societal thing or is that his fault? Like, is it our fault? Like, we read headlines.
It's both.
You know what
sure.
I mean? Exactly.
Yeah, it's both for sure.
It's funny. Yeah,
and we love to hate.
Oh, of course, right.
We love to hate just as a human nature. And it's like if you have a positive experience at, let's say I'm working out at MT Performance, I have a really good experience. There's not a great chance that I'm going on and writing a 5-star review.
Oh yeah, spot on.
But if I happen to catch you on a bad day, and I don't know, you brushed me off, and I'm not having a good day or whatever, I will write that 1-star review so fast it's not even funny.
So fast, exactly right.
So fast.
Oh yeah, that's you're spot on there. It's not no one really. Some people do, but it's pretty rare for someone to just be like, 5 out of 5. That was fantastic after their first workout, which like is probably the majority of cases in almost every gym, you'd like to think, right? But then there's a couple people out there who had a bad experience, or they didn't take ownership. They didn't read up on a certain policy, and then you stood by your policy and they didn't like that. And it's like, well, you had to click the friggin' box that said you read this package expires, for example, right?
Yep.
No, I'm not making an exception. I'm sorry, I think earlier in my career I probably would have, but I kind of learned over the years, you got to kind of stand up for yourself too, because you give someone an inch, they'll ultimately take a mile too. And like you said, it's
oh my god,
it's so easy to just be like, this place sucks, and that sells. It's interesting for people to see that, I guess, right?
So you have expirations on your packages?
Oh yeah.
I need to add those.
And the biggest thing I say is like it rewards consistency. That's it.
See, it's so easy to sell them because I don't put an extra so what I'll do is I'll sell the 10-pack or 20-pack because I know I'm not going to see you very often. So like let's say you go into a season, like all right, just drop in when you can, get the 10 or 20-pack, and then when they come back, I roll that credit over back to the unlimited.
Yeah, I hear you.
But so many people have taking advantage of it, and
that's the thing. Yeah, it goes both ways because I get that. You want to be flexible, and especially working with athletes, college athletes. I do this a lot where it's like, oh, you overpaid 1 or 2, come back and winner, and I'll honor that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
but if it's the case of like, hey, I'm reaching out, just so you know, like that sort of thing, and they're not answering you, something like that.
Oh yeah,
that's
start cutting them off.
Exactly. I guess you got to
slice them away.
It's always situational, right? There's certain people you got to just put your foot down. And that through experience, and there's certain people where they're good people, they're consistent. Like, yeah, all right, we'll roll it over. I'm not always that much of a.
I also think a 10-pack or 20-pack is far less effective when it comes to seeing results, because then it's like, oh well, I only got a 10 or 20-pack, so like I'm just gonna come in like once a week.
Right. Yeah.
Versus, all right, I'm paying monthly. Like I'm committing because there's something to be said about. It's like okay, I maybe you don't do this anymore, but I know you used to.
Yeah.
Oh, you're my buddy. Come work out for free on me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're my friend, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my cousin. Come work out on me. I'm going to take care of you.
Right.
Those people that you do that favor for, they have no stake. They have no skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they see no results.
Exactly.
So there's like this threshold of, I need you to pay something. I don't want to overpay. I don't want you to overpay, but I need some level of commitment to be there.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Right.
And I need it to be, you know, somewhat something that's going to hurt you a little bit. Like a good deal is upsetting on both sides.
Yeah, in a sense. Right, exactly.
So if you're not feeling it in your pocket at all,
right,
you're not going to see any benefit to coming.
Yeah.
You're like, it's like Planet Fitness. The whole business model. They want you to forget about that $10 they want that gym empty, dude.
From a business perspective, it's it's brilliant.
Genius.
From a moral perspective, it's horrendous, but
genius. Like $10. Oh, it's just $10. You know what? I'll cancel it next contract. Oh, I'll cancel it next contract. And then the fee hits, and you're like, oh, what is this fee? Well, you check the box. This box right here says there's going to be a fee of $70 every year, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, well, I should go to the gym. And then you stay on your membership, and then you never get any freaking results.
Oh, yeah. And they make it hard to go. You have to go in, walk of shame. You know,
you have to go in,
yeah.
and then they send in like they send in. Well, here's the front desk person. Oh, let me get a manager. Well, here's the manager. Oh, well, this manager is not in charge of this, so we're gonna send you this manager, and you got to tell 3 people why you're canceling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, basically, I'm a piece of shit. I gotta cancel, right? And you got to go do that in person. And again, so it's like, I'd rather pay $20 a month to just not do that. And then again, now they're that much richer over there, right?
Especially nowadays, like. Even the grown-ass adults are Snapchatting. Mm-hmm. Have you seen this? Like, do you have clients that Snapchat you?
No, I usually don't add like people on that. Snapchat is like that's like the next step for me. Like I don't necessarily go there, but I know I've got clients who do Snapchat. Yeah, they've tried to add me, and usually I just kind of.
I add everyone for the sake of the podcast. I'm just add. Like I just go down the list and just add it because we're eventually going to do some like marketing and stuff on there.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I just think it's so funny the stories that you see. Right. Like now I'm not even talking on Snapchat now. I'm talking on like regular social media, Instagram, Facebook. People post everything.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like why are you posting the picture of you at a park where you clearly either set up your camera or you had someone take a picture of you? What is the point of that?
I like to think about like, you know, I don't have TikTok, but you see them on Reels or like my wife's got TikTok. She'll show me stuff like someone walking into a store. It's like, so you walk into the store, you set the tripod, like it makes you lose a lot of love for it when you think of it this way. Like this guy like probably pushed someone out of the way, put a tripod up, walked back out of the store and then walked in like they're walking in for the first time. It's weird to me, so I'm not into it.
It's a mental illness.
It might be. Yeah, I think, and do you think it comes from like that need of, you want like affirmation, you want people like the likes and the dopamine response you get there. Like I'm with you there. Yeah.
Well, and it puts you in this. Your page is like all about you,
right?
So you have this sort of spotlight and popularity that you don't get just walking around in the everyday world.
Definitely, yeah.
So these people that are doing this all the time, I mean, I really think that they don't have the right people in their lives. If you're someone who's vlogging and talking to your camera more than you're talking to the people around you, there's a real problem there.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's always like the chicken and the egg, right? There's nothing that's fulfilling them in whatever they're doing from a real life perspective necessarily, so they're trying to find it there, I guess. Like I always try to get into the psychology, which is sometimes get you into trouble. You try to get into the psychology of something you don't understand, at least gain a little perspective. But yeah, again, it's not something that I connect with, I guess. So I don't necessarily like engage in that sort of content, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I'll support someone if they're a friend and they're doing it, I guess. Like throw them a like, but at the same time, you're kind of wondering, like, okay, like. What's going on? Is there something else going on a little deeper?
Oh, there's totally something going on with the people, especially with like the everydayers, you know, where there's like you look at the story on Instagram and it's just like full day.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a full ass day. I could literally spend my whole day, or I could be with you on your whole day because you filmed it all.
Right. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Like you pulled your phone out that much.
Leave some mystery, you know?
Yeah.
I find it weird too. Like, again, like sometimes it's a good thing you're promoting like a restaurant or something, but like you got your camera in someone's face as they're like giving you food. Like, don't you think that's a little weird for that person? Like, hopefully you like to think they're going to mention it. Like we did today at the bowling alley, like you called ahead, you asked if it was cool to do that sort of thing. We're coming from a good point where we're trying to promote, you know, their business and stuff.
I walk in with the camera. Hey, Susie.
That would have gone totally differently, right?
Totally weird.
Exactly.
But it's becoming normalized.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
It's becoming normalized, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to see. And when I see that stuff, I almost want to like message and be like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, are you good?
Yeah.
Like, can I help you with anything? Or like, where are you at mentally? Because I feel like most people doing that, there's something going on.
Yeah.
Like you're missing something in your life. You're missing like a real connection. You're missing real friends. Something's going on where you feel the need to post and interact with these friends.
Right.
You know, like Facebook. They're called friends on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But they all want to see you fail.
Right. Yeah.
They all want to see you just mess up.
100%. Though, you know, I think there's some truth to that. People can be cynical in nature, right? And it makes you almost, well, I didn't fail. I didn't do that. You know, it almost makes you feel a little better about yourself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then you don't go anywhere. You're still in that person failed, and they might have learned a lesson from that failure. So they temporarily might have, I don't know, dropped below you on this hierarchy, but then they learned a lesson that maybe will allow them to like raise up a bit, right? And then you're still sitting there with your hands in your pants looking at your phone. Like you're just sitting there.
My
on the
favorite
couch.
analogy
Exactly.
is like everyone's on their own ladder.
Yeah.
And you can climb it. You can look straight up and you can climb it, or you can reach over and you can try to tip other people over to make yourself feel higher.
Right. Yeah. I
And
like that.
so many people are trying to mess with other people's ladders.
Yeah.
Rather than just freaking climb your own.
Worry about your own ladder. Yeah.
Especially
I like that.
now. Like these kids, dude, you have a supercomputer in your hand.
Oh, yeah.
A supercomputer.
Right.
So how old are you?
29.
So when did you get your first cell phone?
Man, I was probably early for my age. Actually, I think it was like 6th grade. I had my first cell phone.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't get it till 15. I think it was a freaking Nextel.
Yeah, and even back then though, like, it's what a phone's for. You can send a text, you can make a call. It's not, maybe play some Snake or whatever that game was, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you remember your first phone? What was it?
It was like I just called it like a Nokia brick. Like if you threw it hard enough at someone's head, it would kill them. Like it was one of those.
I had the black and yellow Nextel.
Oh yeah, there you go. Exactly.
And I would always, we had, the whole family had Nextel. It was actually awesome because it's like a nationwide radio.
Oh, exactly.
Beep, beep. Dad, can you come get me? Boop, boop. Like I can hear it. I can hear it. Like it was, or you could send an alert, which is the same thing as like a phone call, but then you just answer with your little walkie-talkie. That thing was awesome. I still have it somewhere. I was like, I can't throw this away. I need to keep this thing.
Me and Steve are gonna bring him back.
Yeah,
We're gonna
bring
hop
back
on those.
Nextel.
We're gonna stop texting each other. Boop boop. Steve, you ready for the podcast?
Yeah.
I think that may be a net gain societally if we went back to just that being.
Oh my God, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, we have a superintendent. I think he's gonna come on the show, Don Mendoza, and he was talking. He makes all the kids. So one thing that he added for the district and the schools is all the kids got to turn in their phone at the front of the class when they enter class. Mm-hmm. And he's like telling me, dude, huge net benefit.
Right.
Huge net benefit. And the kids, when they leave, because they have like exit interviews essentially, Don's doing it right.
Yeah.
I don't remember what district it is.
I was gonna say like that he didn't get like
it's
a
like
class
Dundee
action
Crown.
lawsuit from parents about that. Like I could see
Right?
people getting so upset about that sort
Right?
of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, I can't text my kid during class. Like, why do you text your kid during class? How do you think everyone else grew up?
Yeah, right. How did you grow up? That parent.
Right.
You know
that
what I
parent.
mean? Yeah.
You freaking took off at 10 o'clock at night. You're like, Mom, I'll be back tomorrow. And you got on your bike and you rode your bike in the darkness to your friend's house. You slept over, you went to school, and you didn't see mom or dad until after school the next day.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh my God, I can't text my child.
Right.
It's like,
right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I gotta
how-
track their every waking moment with like.
Which I have a kid now. I have 2 kids, and I have been thinking about that. I'm going to have a lot of trouble watching them ride their bike off into the distance.
Right.
So I do we've talked about it. There are like special phones you can get, and there's like little trackers. I had this genius idea. Well, I thought it was a genius idea that wasn't used, but you can put a little GPS tracker on like a shoe.
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, that's perfect. Like, let's make that happen. I looked it up. It's a thing. I'm like, God damn it.
Right.
We can just
All
put
my
chips
ideas.
in them.
Yeah.
What?
Just inject a chip into them.
Yeah, put it right in the butt cheek. Come here,
There
Stevie.
you go.
Like your dog. They have the chips for the dogs.
Yeah.
Just get him a collar.
They're a lot alike in many ways. Like we had, we were walking, we were in Atlanta, and we were walking around, and this lady was going in the aquarium with her kid on a leash.
Oh, yeah.
10 years ago, I would have been like, that's crazy. Like, that's weird.
Call Child Protective Services.
That's barbaric. Why is your kid on a leash? Now I'm like, that's amazing. I'm gonna get one. Where'd you get that? Did you get that on Amazon? Like, my kids are crazy. And boys versus girls is totally different.
Right.
Ugh.
I could, again, I don't have kids yet, but I think like knowing how I was when I was a child, I'm like, oh, like my kid's gonna be horrible. Like, Mom, I'm sorry. When I was like a toddler and like up until maybe I was like in middle school.
You're just a maniac?
Just the worst. Yeah. Just the worst person. Yeah. Exactly.
The worst person.
Ever. No. So I'm like, oh man, I really hope my kid doesn't end up being like that. But then it's like, ultimately it's a product of yourself, right? Like, I'm sure when you're a kid, you're running around like a crazy person, like wanting to do this, wanting to climb this tree, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And you're like, damn, maybe a leash isn't a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh my God. I see so much of myself in these children. It's crazy. And I had crazy anger issues.
Yeah.
And it's coming out in Luke.
Oh yeah.
My little Lukey. Yeah. Like, he just looks you in the eyes and he goes, "Rah!" I'm just like, oh my God, that is me.
Oh, no.
That is me. Oh, geez, I'm so sorry, Kelsey.
Does it come from competition? Like,
It comes
sort of
from, well, I mean, he's too young to really, well, no, he's starting to understand competition between him and his brother. But for me, yeah. Oh, yeah, if I lost, do you know how many freaking controllers I broke?
yeah.
At least 10.
Exactly.
At least 10. I remember one time I had like this stupid plastic safe, and it wouldn't stop beeping. And I freaking chucked it on the ground, and I stomped my foot through it. I don't even think it was mine. It might have been my brother's. But I remember thinking, like, that was really excessive.
Yeah.
Like, crazy excessive. So, yeah, your kids are absolutely a product of you.
Yeah.
How many kids do you want?
I think 2 is perfect. I think a lot of people, if they had a good situation growing up, they kind of try to want to replicate that. And I had an older sister, and then I was a younger brother. And obviously you can't really control that naturally, but that sort of thing, like that'd be perfect. I think 1 boy, 1 girl, and I think older sister is good too, because I think it can be helpful for a young man to get a little bit of a woman's perspective growing up. You know what I mean? And I think my sister helped me with that in a lot of ways.
See, I think, well, at least my first train of thought with it is I want the older, I've got 2 boys, obviously, and I think we're most likely done having kids.
Yeah.
But my first thought was I want the boy first, because then the boy can protect the daughter.
Yeah, I get that. 100%.
You know, like there's, I love that idea that, you know, because I would have melted for a little girl.
Right.
And I would have, dude, the way I worry about my kids, it would have been triple if it was for my little girl. So if they're going to school, I could be like, well, at least Stevie's got them. At least Stevie's got whatever her name would be. I think we would have named her like Mackenzie. But Stevie's there. Stevie will take care of Mackenzie. And that would have been really comforting for me.
Oh, I get that. I think one thing to bring it back to is me growing up, I had a couple of neighbors who were boys who were like 3, 4, 5 years older than me. And I'm really thankful I had them in my life too, like my life growing up too, because like, again, I got my sister's perspective and she taught me a lot of stuff too. But if I didn't have them, I think I would have been a lot softer, a lot like less able to handle adversity and competition. That they beat the crap out of me and everything I did, you know, like
How much older were they?
4 or 5 years.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, exactly. And they're
and
good
they just
people.
beat the shit out of you and everything. You learn how to lose.
Exactly.
You learn how to play. You learn how to respect, you know, some older age kids.
Right. Yeah, and I adapted too. Like you learn how to play basketball against taller people, you know, and that helped me as an athlete too. Growing up, you always win if you always win all the time. I relate it to going back to progressive overload here. I'm kind of flying all over the place.
No,
But
you're good. Fly everywhere.
I teach kids this where it's like, if we don't do something harder, you're never going to get better. So you're 12, right? If you played a bunch of 6-year-olds in football, it'd be fun momentarily, and you'd probably be really good. But you're not going to get better at football doing that, you know? So it's better to be able to challenge yourself a little bit over time, right? So that's kind of how you try to communicate that. Like once form's good, it's a little uncomfortable, but you can go heavier, right? That sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with your sister? Was it always good? Were there some bad parts?
Definitely growing up rough. You know, we'd argue as siblings do, right? You'd argue, you'd fight. We weren't like super tight growing up, but nowadays, both of us, and being adults, she's gonna kill me. She's 32. She's 32. I almost forgot how old she was.
She's gonna kill me.
She's 32.
She's gonna kill me.
I know,
Don't
right?
tell her I said
no
that.
issues still. No issue. No, but she's 32 now. I'm 29. We're like fully grown adults, and we have a really good relationship now. And she lives right in Crystal Lake, so we're still close, and probably closer than ever, honestly, at this point. And just have a big mutual respect for each other. But that respect wasn't always there as kids. But again, I think that's part of.
When did that turn for you?
I think being away from each other when she first went off to college, and then when she came back, I think our relationship was a lot different.
Like, oh, I do love you.
You don't live together anymore. That helps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're not
Yeah.
by each other every waking moment. A little distance makes everything grow fonder, right? As they say. So I think that was the big change. She went up to school, and then when she came back, our relationship was a lot different. I miss you. I'm alone here with my parents. Come back, right? Yeah.
Yeah, take some attention away from me.
Exactly.
Like, come back, come home.
She was a big rule follower growing up too, and she always hates when I say this, but it's true. So I had to push more limits than I would have liked to as the younger sibling. Usually it's the older sibling's job to kind of push the boundaries a bit, right? She did that a little, but not too much. Yeah.
So you were the troublemaker?
I would say so. I think my parents would agree with that too. Neither of us really got in trouble at school or anything, but around the neighborhood, prankster, that sort of thing, 100%, yeah.
Were you a ding-dong ditcher?
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank God Ring doorbells did not exist back then. I mean, everyone in the neighborhood knew who it was.
Yeah.
They had no proof. So.
Yeah. We TP'd a lot. That was really big. And we always, for whatever reason, we would just do it the same house.
Oh, yeah.
Just the same house over and over and over again. And we would always have sleepovers, and we always go TP the same house. We would never see the reaction. We would just know that it's really funny.
100%. It felt good to do something that was like a little bad, right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did. Oh, man, when times were so simple.
Right.
Oh, I think about that so much now. Now, like, I'm just feeling really old lately.
Yeah.
These kids don't understand how simple they have, like how simple life. Like when a kid comes in, you work with kids so you can relate on this, but you can tell when a kid's having a bad day.
Yeah, for sure.
And as a trainer / therapist, because that's what trainers are, you are a therapist in a lot of sense. You start to dig. You're like, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? You're not yourself today.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I got a bad grade. I'm just like,
Yeah. Right.
a bad grade?
Yeah.
That's why you're upset?
Exactly, right?
You are going to be 30 years old one day, and you will never, ever think of that bad grade ever again.
Nope. You don't even remember what class it was, who your teacher was, none of that. Yeah.
What's your take on college and the education system?
Oh, man. I think it's getting to a point, if it hasn't already, where I don't know, obviously it's hard to gauge numbers on this, but is your return on investment ultimately going to be worth it? I think it depends what you're getting into. If you're going to be a doctor, please go to college. Like, please, that's important. There's a reason why
There are
that sort of
definitely
thing is in place.
some required.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Anyone who asks me this, because we do internships all the time, whether it's through high schools or just
so do we.
people there, and kids will ask me, like, they'll ask me about going to college for being a fitness professional, and I don't think it's necessary. I have a degree in exercise science. I went through it, but
Most of what you're learning in that degree is a joke.
yeah, it's not going to.
It's never applicable.
Yeah, like you should know anatomy, but you can figure that out without a class teaching you that. You should know physiology, how the body works in a sense, but. In my experience, at least, I went to Indiana University. I had a good college experience, but like I was not forced to have an internship to graduate. I could have gotten my 4-year exercise science degree and said I'm a genius without ever working with somebody. Crazy. The only reason I got an internship is because I wanted to see if I liked it. So I went on Craigslist and just found an unpaid internship and did it for a semester and sucked at first, didn't speak to a soul in there. I was terrified of talking to humans.
Really?
At the time, I was really introverted. Oh, God. A lot of people, if anyone's listening from back then, they'll attest to this. Like, I literally had the other trainers, like, push me, like, go freaking talk to someone, dude. Like, what are you doing? So it took me some time. Little by little, worked my way up, became a floor coach there, and then, ended up being in charge of a lot of programming and just little by little, sucking at it, but not giving up. I got a little bit better, and I still want to be at that point. I like to think if you're not looking back at what you did a year or two ago and thinking like something was dumb about it or that you're an idiot about a certain situation, that you're not really growing as a person, right? So,
oh man, when I think back at like personally how I would lift, because I was really into powerlifting, I just wanted to lift heavy shit, and I was very impressive. And I say that not to gloat, but I'll pick up the weight that I used to do, and I'm just like, I used to deadlift this for reps.
Yeah.
Like we did a video for a potential sponsor and affiliate of ours for Rugged Road Coolers.
Okay.
And I deadlifted 405 on it, right?
Yeah. 4 plates.
And it was still, it wasn't hard, but it was way harder than it used to be. And I'm what the hell is going on? I'm so weak now. But I think back at the way I used to lift, and I'm just like, man, I was so stupid.
Yeah. Oh God, exactly.
It's so stupid. Deadlifting is the reason I have back issues, for sure.
Right. Oh, exactly.
Like pushing the limits on that.
100%. And it's and to be clear, so no one takes this the wrong way, you'd probably agree with me here. It was more like probably just how you managed it, right? Like in terms of you do it all the time, you didn't undulate loads and stuff like that. So deadlifting is not inherently bad for you.
No. The way I did it was bad.
Exactly.
I think you could deadlift properly. Actually, we could have a little conversation about this. I think the risk reward on a barbell deadlift isn't there. So I think a hex bar is far superior.
Yeah.
We could probably agree there.
Yeah.
But I think in regards to a barbell deadlift, I don't think the reward you get is not worth the possible risk.
Yeah. I can get behind that. It's not something I program very often.
Yeah.
Time and a place, I guess, but yeah.
Right. And usually when I work it in, it's going to be like in a microcycle, and it's not going to be any more than like 2 weeks of working it.
Right.
And I'm certainly not going to load it heavy.
Yeah.
Hex bar, different. Spine's much more neutral.
Right.
You're more upright. It's easier to just kind of stand up. It's very quad dominant. And we usually do a split stance with a hex bar because more athletic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kickstand or B stance or whatever. Yeah, I gotcha. Big fan of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but deadlifting for heavy weight. I mean, if you're a power lifter, obviously you got to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
If that was your goal, and that was something I was sort of playing with, which is why I did it. I got up to a 700-pound deadlift.
Yeah.
Freaking natural too.
That's humongous. Yeah.
Freaking natural. I remember the day I did it. It was one of the, we were just talking about it in the car.
Right.
The testosterone flowing in the air. I was programmed to do 675 because I was doing like a linear periodization with it. And some old head walks up. He's like, dude, 25 more pounds. You have 700.
And you're like,
I'm like, yeah, but I'm scheduled to do 685. And then everyone's like, no, dude, do 700. And they load it for you. And everyone starts watching. I'm like, gosh, son of a fucking, I don't want to do this right now. But I did it, and it was ugly.
Oh, yeah.
It was ugly. I forced the rep, but it was like one of those things where you had to.
Yeah, the atmosphere was right.
The atmosphere was right, and the form was wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
The next day, I went on a bike ride to like just get some blood flow, and I remember like it was yesterday, dude. I'm riding. I'm like, God damn, my back's tight. I do like one of these while I'm riding, and all of a sudden I.
Oh, it went.
And I went and I tipped over. I'm in the grass. I like get my phone out of my like zip bag. The freaking drawstring bag. I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, you gotta come get me. My dad, I was like maybe a quarter mile away from the house.
Right. Oh, how old were you when this happened?
So it was 25.
Oh, yeah. That was probably exactly when I was trying to push as heavy as I could with that sort of thing, too. I think a lot of people in this field have at least a phase, right?
What do you think your prime is?
Oh, for what?
Like peak strength.
Peak strength? I think...
I want to say like 27.
I think it's like, I want to say with like strength-focused sports, they say like 27, 28 to like early 30s, actually.
Yeah, because you can keep climbing. Well, men specifically, our test really starts to drop at like 31.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's kind of like, I think you can keep getting stronger to 30. Well, you're almost 30.
Yeah.
Do you feel a physical difference?
For sure, yeah, for sure. And I don't know if it's... I don't prioritize being as strong as possible anymore. Like you're the same way. So I think it might be partially due to that. My lifts just aren't as intense because what is the reward? Why am I doing this? I would do it for my ego back then because I thought it was cool. It was fun. I had a good time, and I don't necessarily regret it because you learn lessons.
Oh, I don't regret it at all.
And I can still.
Who can say they deadlifted 700 pounds?
Right, exactly. Not me. Not me. So yeah. I forgot where I was going with that.
We were just talking about like the peak of strength and ego lifting and
right. Yeah, I think if I had done it intelligently, like I'd probably be there right about now. Again, 29, but I just lost as much of a desire to do it. So more so, I train now because I play some rec sports. Like I just want to dominate those as much as possible. So I still run sprints all the time, and I enjoy it. It's more fun. I feel better. I was getting to the point where the heaviest I ever weighed was like 196 probably. And that was when I was really pushing the powerlifting thing, and I just felt bad. I didn't feel good. I was strong as hell for what I've been able to do in my life, but like I didn't feel like I could apply that in a meaningful way if I needed to. You know, I think peak 505 with the bar, 535 or with the barbell, 535 with the trap bar. Like that was fun. That was awesome, but like it didn't really apply in a meaningful way on, I play flag football, for example, on the weekends. Like I couldn't move. I was super slow and I'd get out of breath walking upstairs. Right? Like I didn't want to live like that,
Well, if I can go back in time and even if I saw my own eyes, I looked at myself.
Yeah.
And I go back and I stop this kid from deadlifting. I'm like, hey, dude, put on 315 and do it as fast as you can. Yeah. I would have been like, I'm not a pussy.
Yeah, shut up.
But that would have been far better longevity wise, and it would have created much more power.
Right. Oh, exactly.
Versus like a slow ass vibrating, back rounded.
Yeah, the nervous system is begging for mercy.
Oh my god, dude! I could like feel the back pain. But what are we at, Alex?
We're at 120.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so to kind of keep piggybacking off what we were just talking about, what are your personal physical goals right now?
It's one, to dominate rec sports. I like the feeling of still being faster than people. It's something I grew up doing personally and stuff like that. So I like to be able to sprint and express myself. Like, for example, like working with athletes, they're going to ask you to race. I never want to get into a position where I'm like, nah, I can't. Sorry, gonna hurt myself, and it's gonna happen. That time will come, obviously, but I want to prolong that as long as possible. Just being able to play, right? Want to have eventually when we've got kids, I want to be able to play with them, and once they get to a certain age, that sort of thing. Still look good, obviously. I think most people would say that's a big part of what they do, but being able to just
you don't want that dad bod?
Things. No, not yet. At least eventually, I don't know if I want to be like in my late 50s and super jacked, but no.
It just gets so hard to maintain.
Exactly, because then it becomes you're taking, and some people prioritize this and can balance it maybe even too, but I think you're taking away time from things that might be, at least from my values, more important. Like I'm missing out on family time to lift 5 days a week or something like that, which I don't care as much about anymore. Like right now I'm training 3 times a week, probably 45 minutes to an hour, and that's enough to maintain what I'm doing strength-wise, feel good, work on speed, that sort of thing. Be mobile, be able to squat.
Are you still like really athletic based then?
Yeah, I'd say so. I might be faster now than I was when I was still playing like competitive sports. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know.
We'll have to race when you come do your workout.
Let's go. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like you could still move.
I can still move for sure, but I have not been
Steve's
training
super slow. Don't worry about it.
Hell up, Alex.
Let's do it. Maybe we'll do like the reversal of the bet, like double or nothing.
Oh, okay.
Trying to weasel
you
my
want
way
to
out
double the workout?
That's
bold, brother.
I'm trying to weasel my way out of this one here. It's got to be a 40 because that's the only way to determine if someone's fast. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the 225 combine. Exactly. Everything in the combine is just superior.
Yeah.
I remember. Quick story. I remember Nick Diogardi, one of the strongest little shits I've ever trained. Tank, dude. Yeah. He could squat. He was that squatty body that you were talking about.
Middle linebacker type.
Yep. And so it was Nick Greenberg, Dean Brown. I'm gonna butcher a bunch of the names. Matt Lorenz. All these guys. They watched Nick Dio put 405 on, and they go, "Steve, can you do this?" I'm like, of course I could do this, guys. Like I'm training you. And this is when I was like 25 and I was squatting like 500 plus pounds. There you go. And my dumb ass let them talk me into doing it. I'm like, God dang it. I look back. I'm like, you guys seriously going to make me do this right now? Well, we don't think you could do it. I'm like, guys, this is nothing for me.
Yeah.
And of course, they made me do it. And I like tweaked my groin because I didn't warm up. I didn't nothing.
It's cold. Yep.
I'm like, God dang it. Like, you little shit sticks.
Did they know you tweaked your groin or did you
no,
hide it?
Absolutely not. I walked that off, but I hit it. I hit it like with ease too.
Right.
And they're like, oh shit, Steve is strong. I'm like, God damn, why did I just let those little dickheads talk me into that? But I definitely I walked off like a champ, and I did not tell anyone, but that totally tweaked my grind. So Nick Dio, you got me. You guys got me that day. But you hit the nail on the head for me too. Like I really want my kids to get into sports. I don't really care what sport.
Right.
But I want them to get into sports, and I want to be able to learn and grow. Like if they choose soccer, I'm horrible at soccer. Yeah. But I want to be able to move and learn and play and go in the backyard and kick a ball and not have any hamstring issues when I kick that ball to my kid.
Exactly.
And I want to compete with them too.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And I think one more thing too, like not to mention just like if I don't work, I just got back from my honeymoon. I was gone for like a little under 2 weeks. I didn't work out. Like I'm not a big workout on vacation guy. Like if someone asks me if they want to do it, I'm like, do you want to? No, don't. You know, they're on vacation, right? Move. Don't be a piece of crap. But you know, maybe take some time out. I didn't work out, but we were moving and stuff. But you know,
well, it's good to have a reset every now and then.
Exactly. But then you start to feel the mental. Like that was too long for me, actually. Like
2 weeks of no working out.
I was irritable. Like I was turning into an asshole, like and that sort of thing. So I didn't have that outlet to exert myself. And I think so that is a huge one that I forgot to mention. It's why I still work out is because I would be a totally different person and not a fun person to be around if I didn't. So that's huge too. Yeah.
I always use the example of hangry.
Yeah.
So when I'm hangry, it's extremely similar to when I don't work out.
Right.
So if I'm on vacation, I'm working out, but it's way watered down, right? It's like 20 minutes. Or like we love the beach stuff. So like in Costa Rica, we were running sprints.
There you go.
You know, and Kelsey just sat there. like I was like, you don't have to run. You know, you chill. Plus she was pregnant at the time.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So I was doing like beach workouts and stuff like that. But all right. So at the end of the show, I always like to ask everyone, well, actually, I'm going to change yours up a little bit.
All right.
Because I was telling you, I'm really passionate about like changing the general, you know, general population. I want them to change their lives for the better.
For sure.
And I think I find a lot more reward when you help that person change their lifestyle because they are so dug down deep.
Right.
You know, they're so far in it, they don't see the light at the top of the hole.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I want you to pitch to me as if I'm one of those people and you want me to start working out and train, start hitting the weights.
Oh, I like this. Okay. I gotcha.
Okay,
well,
so
is this like we're first meeting each other?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm scared. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm at a low in my life. I don't feel good. I can't breathe when I'm tying my shoes.
Yeah.
Help me. What do I do?
I gotcha. Well, you know, part of like when you first meet someone, you ask them a little bit about them. You learn their life, right? You want to learn what they do for a living. You want to learn all that. And then first of all, I think that's a good way to start than just diving right into injury history, training history, goals, because you might have a little more perspective on the goals because people don't always tell you exactly what they want right away, right? They might give you the general, I want to feel better, I want to lose some weight. But if you figure out a little bit about their life first and get that buy-in, maybe they'll trust you a little more and they'll give you a little more input, or you just can maybe make some connections as far as why they want to do that, right? So I think getting to, it's easy to say I want to lose weight. I think a lot of people listening to this who are in the Gen Pop would like to change their body comp a little bit, right? But you got to figure out why, right? So it's like, oh, okay, so if you ultimately make this connection of like, oh, this guy would want to be able to like pick up their grandkid. It's like, is what you're doing right now, like actually be honest with yourself, is what you're doing right now, your lifestyle, going to get you to that point? No. Have you tried going down this route before in this way that we're going to do it? No. It's like, so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep doing what you've been doing that's not working? Or are you going to try something different? And I'm going to show you and explain to you why we're doing certain things and why it's going to benefit you in that sense. And it's not going to be impossible. You're not going to be like crawling out of the gym your first day, especially with Gen Pop. We're not doing that. It's got to be sustainable. So their first workout might be one of the easiest things you ever put together, but it's going to go a long way and be like, man, okay, I can do this, right? I think with that sort of person who's so far down in those trenches, to start there is key, because eventually they'll learn how to work hard and bust their ass, but you can't necessarily, in my opinion, I don't start people with that sort of thing, right? It's like, it's sustainable. You can do this 2 to 3 times per week and not feel like crap at all times. And then once you start to get that buy-in and they get maybe a little more caught up to speed by just doing general movement, okay, now let's push a little and let's make that progress, right? Because intensity has to happen, right? It has to be uncomfortable. But every once in a while, you gotta like turn that dial down a little bit if someone's way down there. Because what you're doing might be uncomfortable for them. You know what I mean? It might be the most difficult thing they've ever done in their life. And for us, from playing sports and pushing really hard and going through intense powerlifting phases where you weren't going hard unless you almost pooped your pants while you're doing a lift, we have that perspective.
Almost.
We know that. Almost. Maybe.
Maybe
you always
little.
bring a spare pair.
Yeah.
But they don't have that perspective, right? So this body weight squat to a bench is that same intensity, or at least close to that same intensity. They perceive it as that same intensity as us at that point. They just don't know it yet. You got to ease them in and teach them that. But yeah, long story short, it's kind of like going back. I circled around the question. Is figuring out what they've been doing. It hasn't been working. It's like, what if I'm offering you a way that through anecdotal experience and scientific evidence is going to get you to that point, right?
My go-to lately.
Yeah.
And you're not a witness. You're not at the gym. So this guy just signed up, and we're talking about commitment. And I said, "Do you want to die at a young age?" Just straight up.
Right.
Like, do you want to die at a young age? He's like, well, no. I was like, well, obviously no, right?
Yeah.
Well, this will likely, I can't say for sure.
Nope.
There are no for sure's.
Never.
But this will likely extend your life. And if it doesn't extend your life, it will extend the capabilities of you physically.
Yeah.
You know, so when you're 65, you'll be able to play golf versus when you're 40, you'll be done playing golf because you're not doing any training.
I like that. Yeah, 100%.
So, and I always tell people, I'm like, the gym has saved my life several times.
Oh, for sure.
Several times.
For sure.
It's the best place to exert all of your energy and just mentally drain yourself too.
Yeah. If you could spend X amount of money to extend your life 10 years, would you? I think most people would say, yeah.
There you go. That whole roundabout thing you did earlier, what you just said trumped that times 20.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Like, hey, do you want to? Would you pay to extend your life? Yes. Okay, let's do it. That's it.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's extend your life.
I like that. I'm stealing that.
Really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, man.
It's been
Appreciate
awesome.
you.
We did forget one thing. I need your real review. Don't hold back.
I was about to cut you off and say we need to do this first before we finish. So
I made him a latte.
He's a man of many talents. We'll see if barista is one of them. That's good. I'm not BSing when I say that's delicious.
Do you get like Starbucks or anything?
I think it's a little better than. I'm not a big Starbucks guy, to be honest. In general,
that's what I'm talking about.
Good vanilla flavor. You had a multitude of flavors here, by the way.
Cinnamon dolce, caramel something, and vanilla. And you went with vanilla, so it's good.
Yeah, delicious. And he put it's probably I'm not gonna be able to do it without spilling it, but he put a little M in the latte.
I'm talented.
Barista, baby.
Good stuff.
Yeah, screw this podcast stuff, dude. Let's just say you were a barista too at
I
one
sure
point,
was.
weren't you?
I could put your
God,
latte
what are we
art
doing?
to fucking shame, bro.
The UP coffee shop.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I could make a swan.
You could make a swan.
Yeah. So
you
like
have to show me how to do that.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
I just do the
give it a
first letter
shot.
of people's names.
Yeah.
We think we deal with crabby people at the gym in the morning. Imagine being, barista in the
Oh
morning.
my god.
That was great, dude. Start my day at like 4:30.
Everyone's
I'm like
just pissed
walk in,
off.
double shot of espresso, black coffee, 2 more shots in there. I'm like, okay, we're good.
We're good now. But awesome. Anyway, awesome having you on. I look forward to our workout because I whooped your little ass in bowling.
Oh no.
So we'll update everyone on that. But I really appreciate it, man. We got to get a workout together too.
Yeah,
So
I'm game. Absolutely. Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and it's a lot of fun.
awesome.
Yes, sir.
Sweet, man.